Oh, yes. You know that sewer department, those that work in the sewage treatment plants? Yeah. Why don't you just find out if they're missing any gases or any sewage? Yeah. Now, I'm just sitting here for a few minutes. I just had to walk a long way, but I'm happy I did it, okay? Now, I sent some emails and I didn't get any phone calls from my sons, and I know those in the way. They dislike the thought of it being a terrorist organization, but I did do some reading earlier today. I got some pictures. I'll probably put them on the drive. Yeah. Now, not that many pictures, really. It's just what exactly is terrorism? It seems that it's been difficult for governments to be able to define it. But the legal profession desires a definition that can be used for successful prosecution and conviction of accused terrorists. See, I would think it's terrorism to affect the thoughts of those that are citizens because you don't enforce forgery laws, fraud laws, or kidnapping laws. Now, a defense or an appeal by an accused terrorist is easier if the crimes are ambiguously defined. That means ambiguous means, well, we're not quite sure what terrorism is, but we know that after issuing court orders since 2011 not protecting the civil rights of American citizens and then being well, you know those legal rights I keep telling you about that you just don't want to enforce. Now, prosecutions in the United States can be under the Homeland Security Act of 2002. Yes. The act emphasizes the danger to human life, covers the critical infrastructure and key resources, but also includes the psychological and political aspects. The psychological knowledge that law enforcement, oaths, badges, and mandatory reporters really don't care about the perceptions that America's youth have about their refusal to enforce forgery laws. Now, there is some psychological damage that a lot of minors are experiencing, folks. And then there's the political aspects. All of those that ran for office, you just had an election last. Well, your way is terrorism. Oh, and your obstruction of my use of the judicial system. Oh, I think there are some political and psychological aspects of having elections where the sheriff knows that the laws are not being enforced. And then there's that political aspect of obstructing my use of the judicial system because you won't enforce my rights. Pooch. You would rather issue court orders where my sons are kidnapped, held hostage, and then you say, well, that's okay, they play football. Now, I'd like to get a copy of this Homeland Security Act of 2002. Yes. Could you get me the employees of Homeland Security since they started in 2003? There was a September 11th attack on the United States of America. Some terrorists had flown airplanes into buildings. I thought that any time law enforcement refuses to enforce the civil rights of American citizens when having documented in 2 million emails that forgery is against the law. Yes. No due process. Pooch. Fake crimes that I didn't commit. Ooch. I'm thinking that it is prosecutable. Just give me a copy of Homeland Security's Act of 2002. And then each and every employee of Homeland Security, and I'd like to know exactly where the sewer is. I mean, you're employed, right? Fusion centers, 72 of them. In fact, they got a little place over here in Clallam County for cutting. Why don't you get me every fucking toilet of every. You've been using gases again. Oh, now on the base of their activities, as in, well, we don't want to talk about it, but we have some illegal aliens that are not from other nations. Pooh! Rather than the presumed motives. What is your motive for refusing to enforce the civil rights of American citizens? And what could possibly be your motive for using any substance from a sewage treatment plant? Why don't you just give me every location of Homeland Security and all their sewage bills? Pooch! Do you treat your own sewage or does it go? Oh. Now, actual acts of terrorist violence are emphasized above the threats of the violence. I've experienced numerous arrests without any jurisdiction of law. Yes. The refusal of law enforcement to admit I wasn't in Sequim, Washington or Brennan, Washington. Yes. This whole concept of not enforcing foreign protection orders. I looked at that law, the RCW of the state of Washington. Yes. I should have been arrested for the allegation of violating the probation conditions. Yes, the unsupervised. I was actually right. I'm going to sue you for that. Now, the U.S. State Department, are they working today? I know it's Veterans Day, describes terrorism. It's premeditated when you issue court orders in 2011 where I was not a resident. Yes, didn't get any notice. Politically motivated, as in you don't want me to be involved in politics. I mentioned I was running for president in 2016, but you wanted to obstruct that pooch. You didn't want me to be the governor of the state of Washington. You didn't want me to be the president of the United States. Violence perpetrated against non-combatant targets. Now, as a citizen, I'm non-combatant, yes, by subnational groups or clandestine agents. Reminds me of a conversation I had with a pastor that said he had 3 levels of security clearance. It could be that Mike Van Proyen, using a fraudulent image of his wife in a Rotarian newsletter, thought his way was more important than the actual laws of the United States. Now, wouldn't it be something, an irony? Yes, to find out that a guy that's a fraud, yes, has acted as a pastor for the last 20 years when the truth was his whole motivation for pastoring a church was the way known as the terrorist.